Welcome back to Miniature Game Montage and another Kings of War battle report. This is the second report out of the Lonewolf GT in 2021. This tournament was held in Dallas, Texas, and is played at 2,300 points. I picked this game to film to show the creativity Kings of War can offer. The ability to multi-base really brings a new aspect of hobby to the game where you can really be creative in the forces you bring. John has brought an army of clowns representing the Nightstalkers, and he will face off against Chris's Brotherhood. The Nightstalkers consist of 5 regiments of scarecrows. One will have the warbow of Kaba. His troop choices are phantoms. He has a regiment of shadowhounds that are really cool bumper car goblins. They have the potion of the caterpillar. He has 4 hordes of butchers, a horde of fiends with Sir Jesse's boots of striding, a dread fiend in the ticket booth, a shade with mournful blade, and 2 horrors, one with conjurer staff and bane chant, the other with just bane chant. Chris's Brotherhood represents the Order of the Green Lady. He brings a regiment of Brotherhood on foot, a horde of Order of the Brotherhood with Brew of Strength and Vial of Sacred Water, Banner of the Green Lady, 3 hordes of Water Elementals, 2 hordes of Forsaken, one with Pipes of Terror and Sacred Water, another with Mace of Crushing and Sacred Water, 1 Greater Earth Elemental, 2 Devoted, one with Radiance of Life and the other with Surge, and 1 Unicorn with the Shroud of the Saint. Today's scenario is called Texas Hold'em. There are 7 objectives listed, and starting with the player who loses the initial roll-off, that player can select first. Each player alternates, selecting 2 personal objectives from the 7 listed. These personal objectives may only be selected by 1 player, and only that player may score them. The 3 remaining unselected objectives become pool objectives that both players can score. On a die roll, 1 pool objective becomes the river, and both players will be trying to score that first for bonus points. John has selected control more table quarters and control more pieces of terrain. Chris has selected to have more unit strength in his opponent's deployment zone and have the cheapest unit alive at the end of battle. Pool objectives are kill the enemy general, kill your opponent's highest point unit, and be the player who controls the area within 12 inches of the center of the board. Control the Center was rolled up as the river objective. As always, be sure to leave a like on this video to support my channel. These videos take a lot of work, and we do them just to bring awareness and some entertainment to the games we love. Turn 1 is coming up. And turn 1 opens up. John is going to move up some phantoms. The Dread Fiend is going to move forward and pivot. Those phantoms are screening for this horde of fiends coming up behind it. Regiments of scarecrows that form up the center line are then going to move forward. There are 5 of these regiments, and we are seeing them push up the middle of the board now. Over on the right flank, hordes of butchers move up the board. The Shadowhounds and the Phantoms on the right flank reposition, which brings us to the end of turn 1 movement. And in the shooting phase, very quick, there was a miss with the warbow of Kaba from a unit of those scarecrows. And over for the Brotherhood's turn 1, you're going to see a classic anvil moving up the middle. You've got this Greater Earth Elemental. He is a dash 19 on his nerve, as well as the Water Elementals. They're dash 17. These guys can really turn into tar pits. We've got the 2 Devoted that are going to move up behind them, as well as the Unicorn going straight up the middle. Over on the right flank, we have some Order of the Forsaken that are taking position. And then we have some Order of the Brotherhood that are also going to move up the middle, being careful to stay out of charge range. The Brotherhood on foot will move up as well on top of this obstacle, and then the other Order of the Forsaken will move up slightly. And that brings us to the end of turn 1, as there is no shooting, there is no combat, and we're moving into turn 2. On the right flank, Scarecrows with the Warbow of Kaba move up and pivot inside to get better line of sight. And then we will see a reshuffle from some Scarecrows, trying to be mindful of the charge range of these Water Elementals, other Scarecrows moving up behind the woods. Scarecrows on the right flank are moving forward and then angling back towards the center. We'll have some shuffling from some butchers in the backfield, and the Dread Fiend moves up the center of the board. And then we have a charge going off from the Phantoms, and they're going into the Order of the Forsaken, which were technically a little further up. Chris just couldn't place them due to the terrain. The Lone Wolf will move up. You will see this character as the Lone Ranger in some armies. This is specific to this particular tournament. We've got some more Scarecrows on John's left flank that are moving up. The Fiends are going to move up as well. Shooting phase is going to be very quick. The Warbow of Kaba will miss, and then we're going into combat where these Phantoms are tied up with the Order of the Forsaken on a charge. They're going to get 12 attacks, and they are going to hit on 4s. And it looks like 7 of these are going to go through, and then their defense 5, so needing 5 to do a wound. They would like to get 1 just to ground these flyers, and rolling those up, he's going to get 2 wounds. And moving to the bottom 2 for Chris and his Brotherhood, we will see a charge on his left flank as the Order of the Forsaken are charging hindered into the Scarecrow unit. This is the one that has the Warbow of Kaba. And then in the middle of the board, some water elementals. They're going to get a flank on these Scarecrows here. We do see the Order of the Brotherhood charge into the Dread Fiend. The Greater Earth Elemental is going to charge into the front of those Scarecrows first, so they've got a front and a flank there. The regular Order of the Brotherhood on foot will also charge into some Scarecrows. We've got some water elementals that are going to get a charge off into some Scarecrows as well. And then this other elemental unit is going to do a 180. I missed the video of the Nightstalkers turn where that shade flew into the backfield. The elementals turning around to thwart that. The Devoted move up, the Unicorn moves up, the Lone Ranger moves up, and we are getting ready for shooting. And in the shooting phase, there is a surge going out onto the water elementals, easily going to make it into contact with the shade, and that's going to be 18 attacks. And these guys are going to hit on 4s. 10 of these are going to go through, and they are crushing 1, so 4s will be needed to wound. 5 wounds are going to go through, and a great roll on the nerve is a 14. That is going to break that unit. On Chris's left flank, the Order of the Forsaken smash into the Scarecrows. They are -1 due to being hindered, so hitting on 4s, 18 attacks, 9 of them go through, so perfectly average. And then the roll to wound, they are still thunderous 1, so anything but 1s, as these Scarecrows are just defense 3, anything but 1 will result in 7 wounds. The nerve roll is going to be enough. This unit is going to be popped. The Brotherhood will go back and reform those water elementals that he forgot about, and these guys over here, after popping this unit, they are going to reform as well. In the center of the battle lines, the water elementals have crashed into this Scarecrow unit. 18 attacks that are coming out. 10 of these are going to go through, needing 4s. And then they are defense 3, crushing strength 1 on these water elementals. That is going to result in 9 total wounds. And a nerve check will be coming out. They are outside of inspiring. That unit will be popped. Continuing action in the center, the Order of the Brotherhood on foot have charged into some butchers. They will get 12 attacks hitting on 3s. 8 of these will go through, but they're defense 5, so 5s will be needed to wound. Only 2 of these will go through, and the roll for nerve is an 11. That's going to take them to 13, and they are going to be just fine. Moving towards the Brotherhood right flank, we are just going to take a nerve check for these Scarecrows as they have been charged into the flank by the water elementals and into the front by the Greater Earth Elemental. So that nerve check will be just fine, needing snakes to stick around. That Scarecrow unit will be taken off the board, rolling that twice due to inspiring being close by. Next up, the Order of the Brotherhood that charged into the Dread Fiend. They are going to get 32 attacks. They do have the Brew of Strength. I think only about 6 or 7 miss here, so a ton of hits going through, only needing 3s, and then anything but 1s due to the crushing as well as thunderous charge, and that Dread Fiend is going to be eliminated as well. Over on Chris's right flank, the Order of the Forsaken will attack the Phantoms with a countercharge. 18 attacks, they will hit on 3s. And it looks like 13 of these are going to go through. They will need 4s to do a wound. The Thunderous Charge has been stripped, and that is going to result in 8 wounds. So nerve check coming out, 2d6. It is a 6, and that will be enough to eliminate the Phantoms. So turn 2 in the books, Chris got off a lot of charges this turn. I think John forgot about the surge from those water elementals, and that led to the elimination of the Shade. 3 Scarecrow regiments went down, a troop of Phantoms, and the Dread Fiend. So back over to John for turn 3. And in the Nightstalkers movement, several charges going off. The Lone Wolf getting into the flank of these Order of the Forsaken. We've also got a charge from the Fiends that are going into the Order of the Brotherhood. We have some Butchers getting into the front of these Elementals. They are going to be hindered, and we have some Scarecrows that are getting into the flank, but they are also going to be hindered. More Butchers charging into the front of these Elementals here. And then over on his right flank, we've got some Scarecrows charging into the Elementals here. I believe they crossed over the obstacle there. We have the Shadow Hounds as well as Butchers double charging into these Order of the Forsaken here on the right flank. Over in the backfield, the characters are going to move around, giving some support, looking probably do some Bane chants there, and the Phantoms are going to fly over and take a better position. And some Bane chants going off in the shooting phase. I believe that first one is going to fail. You will get one Bane chant off with one of the horrors, and that is all for shooting. We are moving into combat. Starting on the right flank, the Butchers will attack the Order of the Forsaken. 18 attacks. They're hitting on 4s. 5 go through. What a bad roll there. 4 total wounds, and then the Shadow Hounds come across with 20 attacks, and they are hitting on 4s as well. They get a handful of hits, but it looks like only 7 wounds are going to go through. 11 total, and he snakes it. He is going to use a Lone Wolf reroll here. That is special to this tournament. Trying to pop this unit. He rolls up a 3 on the nerve check. That's only a 14. They're staying. In the center of the board, the Scarecrow is trying to do something with these water elementals. They are going to hit on 5s. They will get 3 hits that go through. That results in 2 wounds. And the nerve check is good. Nothing happening with these water elementals. Continuing action in the center of the board. We've got some Butchers that are tangled up with the Order of the Brotherhood on foot. 18 more attacks going out, 7 hits. That is going to result in 7 wounds, anything but 1's needed. And 8 is rolled on the nerve check, plus 7 is 15. That is going to be a waiver. And right next to them, we're going to have some more Butchers that will attack. 18 more attacks going into these water elementals. And 5 hits results in 3 wounds, and a nerve check is going to be a 7. The elementals are just fine. Now we move to the hindered Butchers, 18 attacks into their water elementals that they have charged, and it looks like they're going to get 8 hits that go through. They are going to get several wounds, just about all of these, and then 30 attacks from the Scarecrows, also hindered, needing 6s. They get 3, 1 more wound goes through, and a nerve roll here to pop this unit. The dice betraying John at this point, nothing happening. The Lone Wolf will then attack the Order of the Forsaken. He's got 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, and just looking to really ground this unit, just hoping to get a wound. And he will get a wound, and the nerve check, of course, just fine. And then the Fiends are going to attack, and these guys get 24 attacks, and they're going into the Order of the Brotherhood here, and going to get several hits that go through. Needing 4s, 12 in total, and then 4s are needed to wound. At Crushing Strength 1, they are Defense 5. Looks like 5 wounds will go through, and then the nerve check, these guys are 22, 24, so needing boxcars, not going anywhere there. Bottom of the turn in Brotherhood movement, countercharge goes off. These Order are going to pop the Vial of Sacred Water, healing back some wounds. And then we'll see numerous countercharges coming from the water elementals. They are going to roll regens, so regaining, I think, 2 wounds here and 1 wound on these guys. And they countercharge back into their opponents all across the board. The water elementals at right center roll up a regen, and they are going to countercharge the unit that had charged them in the flank. And then we are going to see Vial of Sacred Waters being popped all across the army as wounds continue to roll off. Over on the right flank, we roll up for these Order of the Forsaken. They're going to drink their potion. They heal 3 wounds back. I believe the Orderhood Knights are going to heal back 1. And the Brotherhood proving to be very resilient here. The Devoted are then going to cast both heals into the water elementals. The first is going to fail. but the second, I believe, is going to heal back 2 wounds. So a lot of wounds recovered in this turn. The Unicorn will also provide the benefit of healing on these water elementals. It has Shroud of the Saint and a heal 5, so that takes him to heal 8. Only 3 wounds roll off, but still, these water elementals returning almost back to full strength. Moving into combats, the Order of the Forsaken are going to launch 18 attacks into the Lone Wolf, and they are going to connect on 3s. They will get 10 hits that go through, but he is defense 5. They will need 5s to wound. That will result in 2 wounds. The nerve check is just fine. Moving on to the Order of the Brotherhood, as they attack the Fiends, they are going to need 3s. They launch 32 attacks here, and he is going to connect with 19 of them. And the wound roll needing 3s as well, as they have Brew of the Strength. He's going to connect with 16 of these. That is going to put the Fiends on Snake Eyes, and they're out once. They do have Inspiring. They are out twice. That is a 230-point unit removed from play. Combats in the center, the Greater Earth Elemental did charge into the Butchers and rolling out 12 attacks here, needing 4s. It looks like 5 of these will go through, and then anything but with his crushing 3, looks like 4 total wounds. Nerve check is going to be just fine on these Butchers. And then the Water Elementals will attack into the unit that they charged. They countercharged, I should say, 18 attacks. That results in 9 hits. The roll to wound will result in 6 wounds. The nerve check on these guys is going to be enough for them to stick around. In the center of the board, we have some water elementals that are attacking. 18 shots going into these Butchers. They are defense 5. The water elementals are crushing 1. And it looks like 8 hits will go through on this first batch, rolling to wound, needing 4s. And that is going to result in 3 wounds. Nerve check on these guys just fine. Continuing with the water elementals, this next batch going against Scarecrows. 18 more attacks will result in 8 more hits, and they are defense 3, so anything but will result in 7 wounds. And then the nerve roll, he snakes it. Those Scarecrows are going to stick around. He needed a 7. And over on the Brotherhood's left flank, the Order of the Forsaken will attack the Shadowhounds. 18 attacks going out, hitting on 3s. They are countercharging, and they're going to get 15 hits that go through, and they are going to wound on 4s. And it's going to get a total of 8 wounds to go through here, and Chris rolls out an 11 on the nerve check. That's going to take them to a 19. There's no inspiring, and those Shadowhounds are off the board. And that brings a pretty wild turn 3 to a close. A lot of the Nightstalkers were erased on that turn. The Order of the Brotherhood are wavered, so there'll be no attacks going out for them this turn. We are going to move back over to John for turn 4. And on the Nightstalkers' right flank, the Butchers will get a fresh charge into the Order of the Forsaken here. These Phantoms are going to get into the flank of these water elementals, I believe clipping the top of this obstacle. Then in the center of the board, we will see the individuals moving around. We'll see a fresh charge into the flank of these water elementals here and a counter charge from the Scarecrows. And then over on the left flank, there will be a charge from the Lone Wolf. Bane chants going out across the board on Butcher Hordes, one of them on the Butcher Horde on the right. Both are successful. 18 attacks coming into the Order of the Forsaken here on 4s. 11 go through. And then anything but being crushing 3 with the Bane chant. 9 total wounds, plus the wounds they already had, puts them on snakes. And that unit will be routed. That right flank has freed up for John. Moving to the center, more Butchers attacking the Brotherhood on foot. 18 more attacks coming out. This time they will land 12. That is going to result in 9 total wounds. And these guys already had quite a few wounds on them, so puts them on snakes as well. They are going to be routed and off the board. And then continuing action with the Butchers attacking into the water elementals. 18 more attacks. This time 9 will hit, so getting much less on this group of Butchers. That results in 6 wounds, and the nerve check is going to be okay there. These water elementals staying put. These scarecrows then attack the water elementals on the backside of the board, and they get 15 attacks on fives. 5 of these are going to go through, but they will need fives again to do wounds. Only 2 wounds going on to the water elementals, and then we'll see the phantoms into the flank. And they're going to get double attacks, so 24 coming out, but they will also need fives, and they are hindered due to going over the obstacle. They're actually going to come through with 9 hits, which is very good, but they also need fives in order to wound. Again, only 3 go through. The total on these water elementals is now 5 wounds, and the nerve roll is not enough to do anything with that unit. The elementals doing what they do best and just sticking around. Moving to the left center, these butchers did charge into the flank of these water elementals, so they will get double attacks. The first 18 go out. Now, they did move through terrain on this, so they will be hindered. Therefore, they need fives, and not a very good roll. The roll to wound is even worse. There's only 1 wound going on to these water elementals, and then the second batch of 18 is going to roll out. And we're going to see similar results, needing fives to hit and then not having a very good wound roll. I think they only get 2 wounds in total onto this water elemental unit, and that's not very good when you've got a regen and a ton of heal back there. Scarecrows are then going to launch an attack into the front, and this is a counter charge, but they do hit on fives just normally. So 15 attacks will result in 5 hits, and they need fives. There's no crushing strength. That results in 1 more wound, and the nerve roll, of course, is going to be just fine. These water elementals, again, sticking around. And in the final combat on the left flank, the Lone Wolf just trying to keep this Order of the Forsaken grounded. 6 attacks. He does hit on 3s. 3 hits go through, and he will cause 1 damage, so that will result in them staying grounded. The nerve check is good, and we are moving back over to Chris for the bottom of turn 4. The Greater Earth Elemental has found the flank of these butchers, and then the Water Elementals are going to regen wounds, just doing what they do. And then the Order of the Brotherhood here will charge into the front of these butchers, as they are not long for this world. The Water Elementals are going to countercharge into the Phantoms here. They will roll up regens, and then we've also got more regens from the Water Elementals that are countercharging the butchers in the center of the board. We're going to see some individuals also move around the board, and we are getting ready to go into shooting. And I will spare you the details here. Let's just say there was a lot of healing that went out, and let's get into the combats. The Water Elementals have countercharged into the Phantoms. 18 attacks, they hit on 4s. They're going to get 9 hits that go through, and they are crushing 1, so 3s will be needed to wound. The result there will be 5 total wounds, and they need a 7 in order to pop this unit, and it looks like he is going to roll out an 8, and that is just enough. There's no inspiring, so that unit is off the table. And with a quick reform, we move to the next combat. Water Elementals into Butchers, 18 attacks on 4s. 9 of these go through, so hitting the average, right on the mark. The wound roll, however, these guys are crushing 1. It's going to need 4, so out of 9 dice, 7 are going to go through. So a great wound roll, and that's going to take these guys to a total of 10 wounds, and the nerve roll just misses. These butchers will stick around. In the center of the board, the elementals attacking the scarecrows. This is a counter charge, so they just need 4s. Going to get a handful of hits on these 18 dice, and that is going to result in, again, 7 wounds. They are crushing 1, so anything but on these guys, as they are defense 3. So 7 wounds go on to them, and that essentially puts them onto Snake Eyes, and they are going to be routed. Those scarecrows off the board. We've got an overrun that will take place from those water elementals as they creep towards the center. And then we are just going to do a nerve check from these butchers that were charged in the flank by the Greater Earth Elemental and into the front by the Order of the Brotherhood. And I think we have to roll this one up twice, but those butchers will be off the board as well. And remembering to get to the center of the board, the Earth Elemental will surge forward with an overrun, and the Order of the Brotherhood are going to reform. And down on the bottom right, the Order of the Forsaken attacking the Lone Wolf. We've got a real barn burner slap fight going on here. He gets a ton of hits, but it's only going to result in 2 wounds. The nerve check, there is a 6 that's rolled out and a 1. This is 7. That's not going to get it done. He is going to use a Lone Wolf reroll on this 1 to see if he can't pop this unit. And that Lone Wolf reroll is coming out, and of course it's typically always the same number you rolled before, these guys staying locked up in combat. And the end of the turn sees the Nightstalkers' ranks thinned out significantly in the center of the board. While they do control their right flank, they have lost a lot of units to attrition here in combat to the Brotherhood. And going to the top of the turn, these butchers are going to get a flank on these water elementals, and this is a great strategy to get rid of these things. We're going to see some individuals that are moving around, looking to provide some Bane Chant, getting line of sight to where they need to. These butchers over on this flank are going to adjust and move up. And in the shooting phase, we've got one of the horrors casting Bane Chant onto the Scarecrows. Another one is casting Bane Chant onto the Butchers, and both are going to be good. So that will provide them with Crushing 1. And moving into combat, the Lone Wolf is still tied up with the Order of Forsaken there on the left flank, and he does get a hit on 3s, and he will do a wound, so keeping them grounded. Then in the center of the board, we've got the Scarecrows. They are attacking the water elementals up top, needing 5s to cause a hit, and they're going to get 4 that go through, I believe, and then they will cause 2 damage. The elementals will hold firm, though, but these butchers that hit into the flank of these other elementals, they're going to get 16 hits on their double attacks, and that's going to result in 14 wounds. So not even going to show you the butchers from the front. We're just going to go ahead and roll nerve, and that is going to be on snakes. That's going to be enough to take them out of the game. So the center of the board starting to free up for John. The butchers units that are holding it, though, are pretty wounded, however, and we move over to the Brotherhood for the bottom of their turn 5. The elementals will go hindered into that first line of butchers. The Greater Earth Elemental charges in on the appropriate side, and that makes room for the Brotherhood that will charge into them as well. And I'm not sure they're going to be able to withstand the attacks coming from all of these units. The Pegasus will move, throwing some heal back onto the Order of the Forsaken, healing them back up to full, and then we'll see heals going off as well onto the Order of the Brotherhood, and they will take all of their wounds back off. And combat's taking place. The Order of the Forsaken into the Lone Wolf, once again getting a ton of hits, just needing 3s here on their 18 attacks. And this time there will be a solid wound roll that goes through, needing 5s, so 4 of them will be successful, taking him up to 8 total wounds. The nerve check is going to rout this unit, and it will free up this side of the board for the Brotherhood. The water elementals then attack the Scarecrows, and they have a pretty good hit roll on their 18 dice, needing 4s, and then anything but 1 due to their defense of 3. These guys are crushing strength 1. That's going to lead to a pretty solid wound roll, and we're going to nerve check the Scarecrows, and they are going to be routed as well. And a quick reform by those elementals will continue action with these other elementals attacking the butchers. 18 attacks, they will land 8 hits, and then crushing 1, they will get 3 wounds onto that unit. That takes them up to 5 total wounds. The nerve check comes out as a 9. They will hold firm and stay in combat. These next butchers we're going to go ahead and nerve because they have a lot of wounds on them already, and that is 1, and 2, that unit of butchers is routed. So at the end of the turn, while the Nightstalkers were able to chew through a unit of water elementals, they still have 2 more to get through, and more support is coming in the middle. And up at the top of the turn, we're going to see some adjustments here from the Nightstalkers as they are holding firm with these butchers, and then they will attempt to position the individual to block where they can't potentially get a charge off on those butchers, trying to play the objectives at this point in the game, but also have to be careful of an overrun here if these elementals do charge that individual and win that combat. And moving to shooting, Bane Chant goes off onto the butchers, and we are going to move straight into combat as they are still tied up with these water elementals. 18 attacks going out, they do hit on 4s. 11 of these are going to go through, so that's a great hit roll. And then the roll to wound, these guys are now crushing 3, so that'll take them to anything but, and they will get 9 of these that will convert. And they do have Dread that's close by. That'll add 1 to the nerve roll here. Those elementals have 1 on them, so 10, that takes it to an 11. and it looks like John is going to roll enough on the nerve to pop this unit, and it doesn't look like the Nightstalkers are going out without a fight. And over to the bottom of the turn, the Pegasus and the Order of the Forsaken are on the move. We'll see a fresh charge into these butchers here that already have 10 wounds on them, so this is more than likely going to be a nerve check. The Greater Earth Elemental is heading towards his opponent's board edge. We'll also see the Lone Ranger make a move as well. And then the Elementals are going to get a surge into the flank of the Butchers. And we will go ahead and nerve check them quickly off the board, and there will be a reform from both of these units. And then we are going to roll a die to see if we go to one extra turn, and we will. We'll quickly bring that around, and then we will wrap things up. So to get things started, the Horrors position themselves to where they both have to be charged here, and that's exactly what is going to happen, as the Water Elementals will charge into one, and the Order of the Brotherhood will charge into the other. And the Order of the Brotherhood, they will easily take care of their horror. They will overrun, and they will get enough to make it into contact with the Butchers. However, the Butchers will stand. The Water Elementals that charged into the other horror were not able to get rid of him, and the game will come to a close, and this is what the final board looks like. And the final scoreboard, Chris will walk away with a 20-0 victory over John's Psycho Clowns. Really appreciate you guys letting me film this. These reports do take a lot of time to film, edit, narrate, and put together, so if you happen to like it, be sure you leave a like, as it really helps the content get found. There will be some more Kings of War content coming up over the next month or two as I get things edited. The next game that I have planned will be between Jeff's Ogres and Steven's Ratkin, as we are going to the top tables for the last two games, and really hope you enjoyed this one. I may have gotten some things wrong, but hopefully the core experience of the game you were able to understand. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.